So this piece is all finished and I just need to frame it up, and originally I thought that I was going to frame it into an embroidery hoop frame, but because of the way the repeat works and how this particular cut was cut quite low with this repeat, I don't think that's going to be the best way to do it. I haven't got enough ease around the edges. So I'm going to now pop it into this Ribba frame that I got from Ikea yesterday, and I think that's going to work much better for the shape that I've got. So I just need to remove all of this excess calico because we no longer need that. I used that for framing up so that I didn't damage any of the velvety fabric, but all the stitches are secure now, so that is that pretty much sorted. Take the frame, and I'm hoping to use the mount board that the frame comes with for stretching the embroidery over. It does have a hole in the middle, obviously for a photo, but I'm just going to ignore that. Hope that this works well enough for me. It should be fine, even though the hole is in the middle, the embroidery will be set back against the cardboard backing, so I don't think that should be too much of a problem. Ah! Okay, this used to be glass, not glass anymore. Good to know. So this bottom edge is going to have to be pretty close to this edge for the embroidery not to be affected because I've got such a small allowance, but this edge should be able to turn under nicely, and then these two sides are going to come in. Oh, we just got to get stitching, I think. Actually, let's just take a look from the front as well. Yeah, so I think I want it to sit a bit like that. So I'm just going to put a few pin markers in for my edges to help keep me centered. I've got this coats thread that I really like. It's a little bit thicker than a regular sewing thread, which I really find helps with these slightly chunkier projects. I'm going to do double thread because I'm going to be pulling at this rather a lot in order to tension it. Now, I'm not saying that this is kind of the official original way to frame up your embroideries, but it is how I do it and it works for me. So if you fancy giving it a try, go for it. So I'm going to start on the easier sides because I know that I've got more ease there, and I'm going to start in the middle so that I can pull from the middle outwards and then go back to the middle and pull the other way. Let's try and start with it centered at least. going to go through quite a lot of thread. I'm going to start this one over this side, again just spreading that tension so that it's all a bit more even, and anchoring the thread well each time that I start a new one to be sure that it's nice and secure. Using this left hand to keep the tension that I've created on the thread. Pass that under there. Coming up from underneath on one side and down on the other. And taking quite a bite into the fabric. Taking the occasional look at the sides, you can see the pins that I left as markers are just visible, so hopefully it should be pretty central, although we can kind of like twist it over the mount board if we look at the front and it doesn't look quite how we want it. Probably taking about 1.5 meters to 2 meters of thread at a time here. I usually wouldn't recommend using so much thread in one go unless you're doing something like this where you know it's going to be very thread thirsty, just so you can actually get some sewing done. It is a whole arm movement though when it's like this. Each of my stitches is probably about 15mm to 20mm apart. when you're coming to the ends of your thread and the ends of your piece, I like to put in an extra stitch to help to hold the tension whilst I then start to do my slip knots, and I hold the tension of the thread with this non-dominant hand until I've got it through and I can pass it very quickly. You can see my piece is bowing upwards slightly, but I'm hoping that once I've got the board behind it, that should help it to lay flat. But you can see my pins for my positionings are still sort of visible on each of the sides, so that I think it should be pretty central to where I wanted it. Bringing the frame back over, first of all I want to place the glass back in, making sure it is as clean as you can at this point, because we won't be able to re-clean the inside. So try and touch it as little as is possible. Then put the box part of the frame back in to give us that depth. Your pins do need to be as far back as you can get them, but also we're going to need that space because it's been made to hold really like paper, and we've got really quite thick fabric that we're going to try and force in here. Have a look at your piece, make sure you're happy with how it's looking, because we won't be able to fiddle with it any further once it's in the frame. Now I know that a few of these sequins are probably going to be forced down by the frame itself when I pop these into the frame because we're so close to the edge, but just want to make sure that the others are how I want them. And then we're just going to ease this in and hope for the best. And then we can seal her up. There we go, all done.